nothing. This game's at Vieira. I do feel though that Rockledge is going to be the better team here, and I'm going to take the better team, taking the road win. I'm going to say Rockledge by 10 over Vieira. A game over in the Southwest Florida area to keep an eye on. South Fort Myers will be hosting Fort Myers. So far in the season, South Fort Myers is 3-0. They've won 6-0 over Cypress Lakes, 36-13 over Cape Coral, and 34-0 over Northport. Fort Myers, on the other hand, is 2-2 on the season. They defeated Sebring 20-10 before dropping 2 games in a row, where they lost to Charlotte 42-14 and then lost to Cypress Lake 27-25 before rebounding this past week to defeat North Fort Myers 48-3. South Fort Myers is at home and also did defeat a common opponent in Cypress Lake, who was able to knock off Fort Myers. I'm going to take a bit of a surprise here. I'm going to take what's actually an upstart, and I'm going to take South Fort Myers at Fort Myers at home in a close one. I'm going to say by 4. And this should be that was enough of the Central Florida games. A South Florida game that caught my interest. Atlantic Delray is going to be hosting Chaminade Madonna. Atlantic is 2-0 in the season, where they defeated Palm Beach Central 40-13, and then defeated Glaze Central 49-3. Chaminade is 3-1 on the season, with wins over MacArthur 21-12. Hallandale 44-8, and Miami Christian 34-13. They lost in a controversial game this past week to Carroll City 14-13. Atlantic is from what I have seen, like the research I've done with them, they're a very good team, and I'm hearing they may be the best team in Palm Beach County this year. I'm going to take them at home over Chaminade by a touchdown, but this should be a very good matchup for any like the South Florida people. If you're looking for a game to attend and like you don't have like a specific team preference, and you are in that close proximity, I would definitely advise checking this game out. It should be a very good one. Another game to keep an eye on. One of the best rivalries in Broward County, the Miramar Patriots will be playing at St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas is 2-0 in the season. They start off the season on ESPN with a 24-14 win over at De La Salle in California. And then they came home this past week to play South Plantation, winning 61-0. Miramar, on the other hand, is 2-2 on the season. They knocked off Miami Norland the opening week 25-10 before dropping 2 games in a row. They dropped again to Dillard 34-28 and then lost to American Heritage Plantation 31-6. And they were able to rebound this past week over South Broward 27-2. This game is usually a very competitive rivalry. I am going to, though, take the home team pretty comfortably here in St. Thomas Aquinas. I'm going to say Aquinas wins this one by 17 points. And the last of our games to keep an eye on, if this game gets played, is going to be Miami Central hosting Miami Edison. So far in the season, Miami Central is 3-1. They lost their opening game to Baltimore powerhouse St. Francis 49-13 on ESPN. They rebounded to win out a tight battle over 3-1 Booker T. Washington 32-29. They were able to dominate Carroll City 49-26. And then this past week, they knocked off district opponent Miami Southridge 35-0. Edison's also 3-1. They knocked off Miami Jackson 41-12 before dropping a tight game to Naples 17-12. They got a 1-point win over Coconut Creek 16-15 and knocked off Hallandale 21-6. I think Edison's a very good team for a very small school in Miami. It's going to be a tough matchup, though, going against Miami Central. I got to take Miami Central here probably by 10 to 14 points minimum. But I will say, very good start for Edison. They definitely go in the right direction under Luther Campbell as his first year coaching there. So we'll definitely, they're worth keeping an eye on, especially if they can make it into the playoffs. Outside of maybe Chaminade, they might be the best team in 3A Region 4. For those also of you that don't know, we do a top 50 each week, which you can find the full poll as well as the 30 honorable mentions each week on our Instagram page. Be sure to check it out. It's 792 Florida Sports. But I'll quickly go down the list of the top 25 and the first 5 out. If you want to see the full poll, again, go to our Instagram page. You can see it. Coming at number 1, 4-0 Lakeland, who's also the number 1 team in 7A. Number 2, Miami Central at 3-1, who is number 1 in 6A. Number 3, Miami Northwestern, who is 3-1 and number 1 in 5A. Number 2 in 7A and number 4 in overall, St. Thomas Aquinas at 2-0. Number 5 and coming in at second in 6A at 4-0 is Lake City, Columbia. Number 6, Miami Carroll City, who is 2-2 and comes in at number 1 in 4A. Number 7, coming in at third in 7A, 4-0, and they are Edgewater. Number 8, South Dade, who comes at number 1 in 8A at 3-0. Miami Washington, aka Booker T. Washington, coming in at 9, who is 3-1 and number 2 in 4A. And rounding out the top 10, number 4 in 7A and number 10 overall, 2-0 Atlantic Delray. The first slot outside the top 10, Rockledge, who comes in at number 2 in 5A at 3-0. Deerfield Beach, 2-2 and ranked second in 8A and comes at number 12. Coming in at 5th in 7A and 13th overall is Armwood at 2-1. Coming in at 14 is Cocoa, 2-1 and number 3 in 4A. And the number 4 team in 4A comes in at 15, 3-1 Cardinal Gibbons. And another 4A team comes in right after them. Gulliver Prep comes in at number 5 in 4A and number 16 overall at 4-0. Coming in at third in 8A is Bartram Trail, who is 4-0 and at 17th overall. Coming in right behind him at 4th in 8A and 18th overall, 3-1 Miami Palmetto. Orlando Jones comes in at number 19, and they are ranked third in 5A at 3-1. And North Marion comes in at 4th in 5A at 3-0 and the number 20 spot. Chaminade Madonna comes in number 1 in 3A and 21st overall in the poll at 3-1. Flagler Palm Coast comes in next at 8A as they come in at the 5th spot in that class at 3-0. Vero Beach comes in at the 6th spot in that class at 2-0 and number 23 overall. Number 7 in that class, you're starting to get the picture. A lot of 8A teams climbing the rankings. Sanford Seminole at 3-0 comes in at 24th, and rounding out the top 25, Christopher Columbus out of Miami at 2-2 comes in at 25th. And the first 5 out, it'll be Lake Wales 4-0 from 5A, 6A Naples, who is 4-0, 2-1 Venice from 7A, Palm Beach Lakes 3-0 from 7A, and 3-1 Oakleaf from 8A. So if you want to see the full list is on our Instagram page. Definitely check it out. And starting next week, we're going to start putting it on our Twitter and Facebook page as well. So definitely check it out. Now, before we head out, we're going to go ahead and hit on some college and pro football and some of our top games that we selected for this week. The first one we're going to hit on Michigan versus Wisconsin, which is going to be played at Wisconsin. Two very good teams in the Big Ten. I'm going to lean the home team here. I'm going to say Wisconsin pulls out the win at home over Michigan. I don't think Michigan is as good as some polls seem to indicate. I think that Wisconsin will probably end up proving me right by the end of the weekend, or at least I hope so. But I'm going to take Wisconsin here. Tennessee going to travel to UF. Florida definitely would have to be the favorite here, even with them having their quarterback Franks go down for the season this past week. Trask did come in as a backup, did pretty well. I'm going to say Florida wins this one pretty comfortably. Probably 21-24 point win. Another interesting one I saw, BYU will be hosting Washington. BYU this past week was able to, I believe it was this past week at least, was able to knock off a ranked USC team, even though they were down they were starting quarterback for the season as well. I actually think that BYU pulls another upset against a Pac-12 team, and they're at home. I'm going to take them to upset Washington here in this game, if it's even considered an upset. Auburn will be traveling to Texas A&M. A&M is definitely a tough place to play, but I'm going to actually take Auburn to pull out the win at Kyle Field, home of the Aggies. So give me Auburn in this win. UCF will travel to Pittsburgh. From what the fact that UCF was able to blow out a usually very solid Stanford team, I'm going to say UCF gets another Power 5 win this week when they knock off Pittsburgh. I'm going to say by 21 points. Oklahoma State will travel to play Texas. Oklahoma State did pull off an upset last year in this matchup. I'm going to take Texas to get a bit of redemption and get their win back at home. I'm going to take Texas by 10 in this game. And I guess this is considered the premier college game for the week. Notre Dame will travel to face the Georgia Bulldogs. I really feel like Notre Dame is just one of those programs that they're going to rank them, even though they really haven't done much to justify it. If Georgia is as good as people are saying, and if they are as good enough to be able to not only win the SEC East, but to get into the college football playoffs, they should beat Notre Dame badly in this game. I'm going to say Georgia by 24 points at home. And for the NFL games, I selected 6 of them. This is the Thursday night game, so this is the game tonight. The Titans will travel to face the Jaguars. So it's a 1-1 Titans versus 0-2 Jaguars. I think even though Tennessee is probably considered favored in this game, I'm going to actually take Jaguars to pull off the home upset to get their first win of the season. 2 undefeated teams for 1 o'clock on Sunday. Ravens will travel to play Kansas City. All due respect to the Ravens, I feel like their competition hasn't really been that tough so far. Kansas City is maybe the toughest environment perhaps in all of the NFL. I'm going to say Kansas City wins this one at home. It's another one that caught my interest. The 1-1 Texans will be traveling onto the West Coast to face the Chargers. I feel like the Texans are a very good team. However, teams on the East Coast have not favored well on West Coast travels. I'm going to say that the Chargers pull out a tight win over the Texans here. 0-2 Steelers at 2-0 49ers. With Ben Roethlisberger going down, Even though I think they're